Right, year 4, lesson 10. We're going to simplify some fractions today, all right? And we're also going to identify some equivalent fractions as well, which I'm going to explain now. But the majority of what you're going to be doing today is simplifying fractions, all right? So, let's say we have 2 identical chocolate bars. This is the first question I want you to think about. You can see bar A has 2 pieces, and bar B has got 10 pieces. Okay, remember that the other word for fractions I'm using here is pieces. Now you can see that both bars in total are the same size. And the question I'm putting to you is, if I offer you half of bar A or 5 pieces of bar B, which should you choose if you want to have the most chocolate? All right, so have a little think about that. I'm going to give you half of A or 5 pieces of B. Okay, so if I scroll down, you can see here I've coloured it in for you. So there's my my half of bar A by here. And then underneath I've shaded in 5 squares or 5 fractions, 5 pieces, whatever word you want to use, of bar B. And you can see just by looking at the 2 drawings or the 2 pictures, okay, it doesn't matter. A half and 5/10 are the same. And what we say is they are equivalent fractions. Okay, so they're exactly the same. So what you should have identified is if I write them by here, a half, and then I write 5/10 here. Well, what's half of 2? It's 1. And what's half of 10? It's 5. Okay, so when the top number, the numerator, is exactly half of the bottom number, the denominator, we can simplify that fraction and we can take it down to a half. Okay, so I'll put one up here now. Just say you had 200 out of 400. Again, well, because 200 is half of 400, you could simplify that fraction and you could write it as a half. Okay? They mean exactly the same thing. So what I've said here now is let's simplify this fraction. So I've written a fraction for you here. I've written 3/9. Okay? And the way we simplify it is we find the highest factor for both numbers. So the simplest way of thinking about that is when you've got like this 3/9, think about your times table and which times table are 3 and 9 both answers in. Okay, and I put it here on the right. Find the highest factor for both numbers, it's 3. Okay, so once you've found that, let's put it in red so we don't forget it. So that's the highest factor. That's the number that goes into 3 and it goes into 9. Now I'm going to ask myself how many 3's go into both numbers. The numerator on the top, this 3, and the denominator on the bottom. So if we take the denominator on the bottom first, how many 3's go into 9? It's 3. And then how many 3's go into 3? It's 1. So 3/9 can be simplified into 1/3. And remember, it's an equivalent, so both of them are exactly the same. So if I offered you 3/9 or 1/3, you'd say, Spudder, they're exactly the same. Okay, so now it's your turn. So I've been super duper kind. And in red, next to them in a circle, I've told you the highest factor. So for the first one, 8/12, we put our fraction line. You need to ask yourself, how many 4's go into 12? And that's the number on the bottom, the denominator. And then how many 4's go into 8? And that's the numerator, the number on the top. I have been so kind because I haven't done that with year 5s and 6. So pause the screen now, work your way through them, and then press play when you're ready to go through the answers, please. Okay, fab. So looking at A, 8/12 can be simplified to 2/3. 15/25 can be simplified into 3/5. 9/12 can be simplified and it would be 3/4. Remember, when the 4 is on the bottom as a denominator, we don't say fourths, we say quarters. Next one, 1/3. Again, when the 3 is on the bottom as the denominator, we say thirds, not threeths. That'd be a bit daft. Okay, the next one. Okay, so you might say to me, well, Spud, 3 goes into both of them as well. You're right, it does. But remember, we always want to find the largest number that goes into both of them. Okay, so that would be the 6. So that would be simplified into 2/5. The next one is 4/5. The next one is 2/5. Lots of fifths here. And the last one, how many 3's go into 18 is 6. How many 3's go into 15 is 5. So 5/6. So what you've done there is you've found equivalent fractions, because they're the same for each question, but you've also simplified them. So very well done. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.